14 as the political world jockeys for position over the crisis in Syria. Economists are preparing for potential effects on consumers around the globe. Oil prices have spiked 24% since late April and have yet to fully affect those of us who live here in this country. Joe Krier, president of Krier Wealth Management, says higher prices at the pump could have a massive effect on a slowly recovering U.S. economy. That might be putting it very mildly, because we do have a fledgling economy right now. It could be downright disruptive. Yeah, it could be rough, and oil has gone up, as you mentioned, per barrel quite a bit here, and it hasn't really shown up at the pump yet. And the average consumer is seeing inflation at the grocery store, a little bit at the pump, but budgets are pretty tight here, and if we get another squeeze out of this, it could be a pretty rough thing. And Syria just doesn't play into the oil prices. You've got 3 other countries that do as well. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here globally, and first of all, I'd like to say my sympathies to our Syrian friends and neighbors here in Jacksonville who've been dealing with this for over 2 years. It's now just sort of coming to perhaps a climactic point. We don't really know, but Syria's neighbors, Nigeria, other areas in the Mideast have had pipeline disruptions, and Libya and Iraq. And it's actually slowed down production by about 500,000 barrels per day. So it's not just Syria, but it's the worry about the conflict spilling over and becoming a bigger Mideast issue. And when will we see the spike in oil prices? Because it's probably going to happen overnight. Yeah, well, it's been jumping around here, and even with the last week or so, with the strikes being imminent last week, actually prices had spiked, and then when Obama backed off a little bit, prices came down. So the markets are trying to sort this out, and there's just a lot of factors at play here. And one of the factors is that the U.S. appears to be the Lone Ranger. Yeah, we're out there, and nobody really wants to step up to the plate and get on our side. France has leaned towards it, but they're also hedging their bets. Of course, Great Britain has gone both ways on it. It's a little bit rough, and it does highlight some points here. Russia and China are opposed. We've got the British Parliament declining it. And of course, NATO says they're not going to get involved. This becomes a big power struggle between world economics and humanitarian relief. And the speculation is now that if there's going to be a strike, it's going to come in 10 days. But in the meantime, while President Obama seeks Congress's approval, which is another battlefield, the people of Syria are sitting back saying, you're giving the Assad regime more time to go ahead and use civilians to ring our military facilities and perhaps even launch another sarin attack. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's a political mess for Obama. He doesn't want to seem like a lone ranger within the U.S., much less in the global community, and the Syrian people are hurting here. Media can find people on both sides of the argument over in Syria, so it's quite a balancing act over there. And what we don't want to have happen is things like chemical weapons on innocent civilians that have been declared illegal in the global community, to just let them go so that, say, terrorists and other people are emboldened to carry out these attacks in the future. Are we just basically in a sit-and-wait posture when it comes to the impact on the economy, oil prices, and everything I think we are. We're not in a situation where the U.S. is powering ahead and we can absorb an oil shock by any means. And, U.S. oil production has gone up significantly, but not enough to compensate for the imported oil. We're in a situation where if we have a 5 or a 10% disruption in oil flow, it could be a significant change at the pump. And if gas prices suddenly go to $4.50, that has a major negative effect on the U.S. economy. And there are those who believe that this whole issue gets to the soul of the Middle East being compromised. If that happens, the long-term effects could be devastating on the economy. Yeah, no doubt. And there's power struggle going on with the shift where we don't necessarily need their oil as much as before. No one really knows how this plays out, to have the Mideast kind of going on their own and fighting their own battles, perhaps as they have for thousands of years. With the U.S. out of the picture, who knows what the implications are there. Joe Krier, always a pleasure. Thank you very much.